Well, one of the biggest anti-government demonstrations in decades took place in Cuba over the weekend. Thousands of people took to the streets to protest severe food and fuel shortages as the country goes through the worst economic crisis in decades and a resurgence of coronavirus cases. To break this all down, let's bring in ABC News correspondent Victor Oquendo, who is in Miami, where, as you can hear, the protests are continuing there, the horns beeping. Victor, thanks for hanging in there with us. As we have said, this is one of the largest demonstrations in Cuba that we have seen in decades. Why is this happening now?
And Kira, first of all, we are joining you from the heart of Little Havana. I'm glad you mentioned those car horns because they have not stopped honking for hours now. You've also got this group of people behind me, all of this in support of those protesters that we saw on Sunday. I think that there were a number of factors that led up to this, and they just hit a real boiling point. There is a humanitarian crisis, an economic crisis. There is simply not enough food or medicine. COVID cases are climbing again, and while they have developed their own vaccine on the island, they're having a lot of trouble distributing it. All of these factors leading the Cuban people to say enough is enough. Kira?
So, Victor, Cuba's leader, Miguel Díaz-Canel, is blaming tight U.S. sanctions. Of course, I guess we could expect that, and calling on those loyal to his regime to confront those protesters. So how is that message being received around Cuba?
That's right, Kira, and he did change his tone a little bit this morning in an address to the nation. He did say that, in perhaps calming tensions here, that they are open to discussions and adding, quote, "We do not want to hurt our beloved people." We also just heard from our team in Havana, though, and they tell me that some people on the island today are staying home simply out of fear. And so far, we've not seen any kind of protests that are happening right now, certainly not to the scale that we saw on Sunday. That's not to say that they might pop back up in days or weeks, but for right now, we are not seeing that level of protests happening on the island. Kira?
Interesting. Well, you're there in Miami, where thousands of people stood in solidarity with the Cuban people. We're still hearing that same solidarity ringing out in the streets now. Now, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez there, he did tweet. He said, "This is the moment for freedom in Cuba. It cannot wait any longer." Now, I remember well when Cuba and the U.S. normalized relations under the Obama administration. I know you remember that as well. It was quite a breakthrough. But you see Cubans rising up in protests like this, and you have to ask, has anything really changed? I mean, you were born and raised in Miami. You're a Cuban American. Your family has lived and breathed this for quite a long time.
Yep, Kira, I am the son of Cuban exiles. I came here to Versailles growing up. I've eaten at this restaurant a million times. I understand all these issues well. I was in Havana when President Obama visited, and I remember what that was like, but we have to keep in mind that President Trump has reversed those Obama-era policies. So once again, Cuba's leader is pointing right to that embargo as the woe of all of their issues here and the source of all of their problems. What I can tell you is that what those protesters did on Sunday took a lot of courage and bravery. We might be numb to seeing protests here in the United States. What we saw in Cuba simply, it doesn't happen there. You could be jailed for doing something like that or face much worse punishment. I think that when looking back on the embargo, it is certainly a complicated topic, any way you look at it, politically or just speaking at home with relatives. But personally, from my point of view, I don't see how this many years later you can say that the embargo has worked. It's clear that there is a need for change, but it's how that change comes about that is the biggest question here. Kira?
No doubt, and we'll keep following it. I'm sure we'll continue to see, especially those younger folks rising up. Victor Oquendo in Miami for us. Victor, thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.